Hello everybody, Alzheimer here with another video, and today I'm going to be covering, well, some sad news for us gamers. So Xbox is canceling Rare's Everwild and ZeniMax Online Studios' new MMORPG IP as part of broader cuts. Um, so as part of overall cuts of the Xbox division and layoffs at Microsoft on Wednesday, the company is canceling basically just a lot of shit. The jump right to why I want to cover it is right here. As I get something out of my eye and not moving my mouse whatsoever. ZeniMax Online Studios' new IP hadn't formally been revealed yet, but Perfect Dark has had multiple trailers since its announcement, blah, 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 blah. Sorry. ZeniMax's new IP had been in development since 2018 under codename Blackbird, and before that, Kestrel. And Windows Central understands it was a fantasy genre MMORPG to improve upon the success the firm saw in The Elder Scrolls Online. And the project had over 200 people working for it back in 2022. So it could be more, could be less. Because you got to remember, recently they had that other studio just completely, the other studio got shut down and everybody got moved to ZeniMax Online Studios, whether that was some with the new game and some with Elder Scrolls Online. All right, so our sources suggest it had branching dialogue trees for story delivery similar to games like Mass Effect or Star Wars: Old Republic, and was tended to be the title ZeniMax Online Studios would move into as the Elder Scrolls Online began to wind down with age. We'll get back to that later, because that little tidbit is pretty interesting. Let's jump down here. We can, however, hard confirm the Xbox hardware has largely avoided the cuts. Speculation was mounting over the past week that Microsoft will seek to reduce its hardware ambitions despite recently announcing new Xbox first-party hardware partnership with AMD. This latest round of layoffs has not impacted Microsoft's next-gen Xbox hardware plans. Oh, this is the part I was looking for. The latest round of layoffs brings Microsoft's total to 15,300 for the year, after layoffs in both January and May. This July, Microsoft is laying off 9,000 in various departments as it restructures, according to the firm, reducing global headcount by 4%. How about you not restructure everything, or how about you not buy every single fucking game company out there? That seems to be the major problem, is that you're buying game company after game company, and then you're like, oh, we just spent 1.6 billion on Activision. You know, we need to, lay off X, Y, and Z to make up for that, or just don't buy them. Did Activision need you? ZeniMax Media Inc. didn't need you. Bethesda definitely didn't need you. So that's just crazy. So my thoughts is, like, basically, I'm surprised by this, because ESO is doing so well. So you think, you'd want to help to grow that, and grow ZOS. I mean, having two successful games really helps the company's reputation, right? Especially, after being bought. It would be like, well, Microsoft bought them, and holy crap, like ESO just took off again, and they went to seasons, and then this other title came out, and that was really great. Oh my god, like, hello? Kind of makes sense, right? I mean, no, you could say, I've heard people say that, the title didn't have a chance. The new MMO didn't have a chance because we had no information on it, but that just doesn't surprise me. I don't know. I mean, let's just go over some quick history here, right? ZeniMax Online Studios, it formed in 2007. So right after Oblivion. Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Not the movie. ESO was announced as in development in 2012. So that's about 6 years, right? Give or take probably months or whatever. So we'll just go with 6 years. But that's with an established IP with, having its own lore, its own land, its own, like, everything's there for you. Like, all the, what I would probably consider to be the hard part is already done for you. You have land names, you have a world name, you have what the continents are going to look like, you have all that's done for you already, right? So it kind of makes sense that it would only take about six years. But this new game started development, as they said, in 2018. And it just suddenly got canceled, apparently by surprise by a lot of people. And that's about 7 years. But what you got to keep in mind is that they're building, as far as we know anyway, right? They're building everything from the ground up. I mean, just take a moment to think about that, right? Elder Scrolls just wasn't birthed with all that information. It was built up. They had to build what would the continent look like? Would the Earth be called Earth? Would it be called something else? What about the lore? What about the gods? What about races? Where do we go with? Just human? Do we go with do we go beast races too? Do we go typical, fantasy stuff like what Lord of the Rings did and stuff like that? Or we go somewhere else? Like, you have to build everything from the ground up. That's going to take more than 5 or 6 years. Because you're inventing everything from the start, right? It'd almost be like building a house from the ground up, but not only that, having to cut down all the trees, maybe smooth out the land, versus just getting into a house and refurbishing it. You see the difference there? And that's ESO versus the new game. So obviously it's going to take more time, and I'm just not shocked that we didn't have any information. ZeniMax is pretty much, in my opinion, they're known for not really saying much. Because it took them, 5 months for them to even tell us what this year was even going to be about. They announced the chapters being done with sometime in end of December, January. We didn't even hear anything in terms of what they were doing until April, May, or whatever. So, how are we surprised that we didn't know anything about a brand new game built from the ground up? It's just, I don't know. And the one thing that struck me as interesting, and maybe it had something to do with it, probably didn't, honestly. Maybe it's just me being a little paranoid. There was a dispute, whether you knew it or not. I think I covered it in another video. But there was a dispute going on with ZeniMax workers and Microsoft. Lawsuit, blah, blah, blah. Well, they came to an agreement in end of May. So think about that. An agreement May 30th. Right? It's a first in video game industry. Over 300 quality assurance workers. Represented blah, blah, blah. Represented ZeniMax Workers United. And Microsoft negotiating a first contract for nearly 2 years. They went toe-to-toe with a large corporation. And, they're going to get, better pay and blah, blah, blah. And, so, does this, in order to combat this, not even about a month later, all of a sudden, we have to cancel all these games and blah, 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 blah. I don't know. It smells funny to me, right? It smells funny to me. And contract explanation meetings will be held for members over the next few weeks, and a ratification vote is expected to be concluded June 20th. June 20th, and here we are, July 2nd, and boom, ZeniMax's new MMO is canceled. And to what apparently that one former dev of that game said is it came as a surprise because the game, it looked like things were going good. There was even, you can kind of feel that maybe Microsoft, and this is more of a feeling than confirmation, that Microsoft was probably kind of pushing that MMO a little bit. Because again, why wouldn't you want two successful titles with the same company? It just helps you. So I do wonder, does this agreement that they reached have anything to do with what happened today? I don't know. It smells funny to me. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below what you think about that. It just wouldn't shock me. Corporations are cold. All right. I mean, you have people calling for all these changes, and it's like corporations are cold. They don't care. All these people are just stooges. Microsoft just wants to make the most money, and they have a particular path to get there. And if you're not part of that path, they don't care. Hell, Elder Scrolls Online has made ZeniMax Media and now Microsoft a lot of money. But if it gets in the way of their vision of whatever they want to do with their future, it's going to be gone because they don't care. They're cold. Right? They just are. And then, yeah, I don't know. I feel bad for the workers. I really do. One of the workers, if you don't know, who went to the other game was our former lore master for the Elder Scrolls Online, Liam and Tuttle. And apparently he was one of the layoffs. I hope he goes back. I hope he ends up back on Elder Scrolls Online. That would be sick. That would be really sick. I mean, we already got a lore master, but maybe part of writing, or I don't know, but that would be nice, right? But I don't know. I don't know. This makes me just think that Microsoft is dangerous. And I didn't really like the fact that ZeniMax Media, who was the parent company for ZeniMax Online Studios, for Bethesda, for ID Software, for the people who made for Arcane Studios, for the Wolfenstein Studio guys. I mean, it was the parent company for all those. When Microsoft bought ZeniMax Media, I was like, uh-oh, this shit ain't good. And you see it all over now, right? BioWare and EA, but mainly EA. As soon as Dragon Age is whether Dragon Age Veilguard was a failure or not, everyone's gone from Dragon Age. And pretty much that title's over. If Mass Effect doesn't do well, same thing. They'll just be like, done. It's like, man, what's happening now? What's happening with this now? I don't think Microsoft should have bought all these companies. Well, something else happened today that was a pretty big shakeup, but at the same time, I think those of us who pay way too much attention to things that we shouldn't pay attention to probably saw coming. Now, if you don't have LinkedIn, you would probably notice that Rich Lambert, well, his title changed. And then this comes out today. After more than 18 years leading the Elder Scrolls on ZeniMax Online Studios, I'll be stepping away later this month. The studio and the Elder Scrolls Online will be in great hands under the direction of new studio head Joe Burba, who's been with the company a long time apparently, but I've never seen his name before. I looked him up LinkedIn, and he's been like 13 years or 12 years or something, along with executive producer Susan Kath and game director Rich Lambert. Together, this leadership has spearheaded many of ESO's biggest ideas and expansions, and will continue to make this game something we're all proud of. While I won't be working on the game anymore, I will be cheering you on and adding to the thousands of hours I've already spent in game. There are many more stories to be told, adventures to be had, and I know this amazing community will carry that shared legacy and success forwards. Now, this is a pretty big change, I think, but when they changed Rich's title, I think it was just, it was going to happen. You know, they were just waiting for a moment. Was Matt part of the cuts? Probably not. But timing is something to be said for. The timing of this is interesting, I think. Apparently he'll be working till July 14th or something. From another tweet that another person had put out. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people aren't really happy with Rich Lambert. So I don't know what you guys think about him going up the chain a little bit. I think Rich is fine. You know, it's whether you like it or not, the game's a success and it's made a lot of money. Hate this, hate that, whatever. There's a lot of things I don't like about the game too. But you know, I kind of rather have him him leading the charge, who worked on Elder Scrolls before, because he was on the crew that worked on Oblivion and actually plays the game. I'd rather have him doing it than someone who may not play the game, or some sort of like AI or corporate robot that Microsoft might put in there. Make me money, you know? So, I think Susan Cath came from the other studio that closed, but I'm not sure. I should have checked, so sorry about that. And he's been with the company, so I'm not too worried about that. But we'll have to see. I mean, they may switch directions completely, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Some big changes coming along, because what does this mean? What does the cancellation of the new MMO, that, like, and I said I'd get to this later, and I'm not lying, although I almost did, to be honest with you. The title was intended for ZOS to move into as the Elder Scrolls Online begin to wind down with age, and that makes sense. Before people start, see, maintenance mode. No. Games get older, right? The Elder Scrolls Online probably has about 10 more years, at least from map wise. Now you can kind of weave, and we've seen with this year they did Solstice Island. It's a brand new island. So, I mean, they can do other things to extend its life. But if you just focus on just the map that's left, you're about 10 more years. So, but you're going to think, okay, well, when the map's done, and, you know, whatever, when they're quote unquote done with the Elder Scrolls Online, what do? Just shut the lights off, season, like series finale, shut the door? No, these people have jobs and families. So they're going to want to move on to the next game, right? That makes sense to me. I mean, doesn't Blizzard have Diablo? It's the same. I mean, I'm not familiar with Blizzard, but isn't that the same? So it'd be kind of like the same thing, a little bit. Well, not really, but whatever. You get what I'm saying. ZeniMax Online Studios workers need somewhere to go when the Elder Scrolls Online, in, like, 10 years, we'll say, starts kind of tapering off. Well, now they have nowhere to go. So what happens from here? Where is their fallback? I doubt it's Elder Scrolls Online 2. But you're going to sit back and think, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. Now that I'm sitting back and I'm really thinking, but what about all that hardware? All that hardware that they were putting into the new game, does that get transferred to Elder Scrolls Online? I doubt it, even though it's better hardware from what I'm gathering. Where does that go? Storage? But it's better than what the Elder Scrolls Online is running on. Do you build Elder Scrolls Online 2? Is that what Microsoft is going to push? And be like, hey, Elder Scrolls Online has made XYZ amount of money. Imagine if you had new stuff. Boom, here you go. Make it happen. We'll have to see what happens from here on out. I mean, this is But in a way, it's a really sad day. But I think there's going to be a time where big companies, like big game companies, just aren't it. Like they'll exist. Bethesda's always going to exist. In some way, shape, or form, Bethesda will be out there. But what kind of quality games will they put out there? Will people rather play, you know, something from software, like a new Elden Ring or Dark Souls, or something from Obsidian? You know, some of these other indie or even medium-sized companies, you know, that seem to be a little bit more reliable. I don't think big companies will go anywhere completely, but I just think people might stop paying attention to them as much. You know? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. It's a sad day in gaming, everybody. I don't know. I'm interested to see where the Elder Scrolls Online goes from here. What's going to be their 200 people? Those poor people. 200 people whose lives were destroyed. All, you know, really. I mean, when you get fired, it's not a happy fucking day. Lives were destroyed because Microsoft wanted to make some extra money on an AI project or whatever, or recoup the money that they spent buying ZeniMax and Activision, who they didn't have to buy in the first place. So it's not ZeniMax's fault. It's not Activision's fault. It's not, you know, Rare's fault. It's not anyone else's here's fault that they bought that company. How about just not doing it? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys in the next video.